Hello scrappy friends, working with Print Shop today, scrapping my sitting, having a very overpriced latte at the restaurant bar when he was dropping me off for Paper Fox weekend in Sheffield in November. So we're at the Hilton, I think it's Marco Pierre White. Not sure what I was going to do with this layout, just was in the mood for some paper tearing and also for some layers. So I was just using up some scraps from the 12x12 paper pad to make the teared layers as a anchor spot for the photo, sort of border, matting the photo also with some scraps, using the A and B sides of some of the sheets. Wanted to also get in there at least one of the pattern papers that was in the border strips, the anchor strips, which I do in a minute. You see me use the hearts. Yep, so just doing the border here. Now what I had decided was, because I wanted that lighter piece to go between the blue and the chevron paper, I cut the chevron paper in two so that I could get it a bit further out. As you can see, I can see it both sides of the other two pieces. Then I was also trying to do light to dark to sort of separate the layers more distinctly, with light layers and dark layers alternating. So here you go, I used that heart paper that's in the big border strip as a mat there, and I don't worry too much about the bit I messed up when I was trying to rip the chevron paper again, because it's going to be covered up with the photo. Now here's my usual, trying to get some yellow in the background. With this hexagon paper, I do tear down one end, and then the bit that I'm not going to use, instead of cutting it straight, I try to make it more, the two scrap pieces that are left, more usable on another layout, and I go between the hexagons. And I'm really sorry, I'm out of shot here. You'll notice the time in the corner. Okay, so Mr. Ding for Christmas has bought me a ring light with a holder, and he bought me a new camera that, from his research, was supposed to be really good for shooting YouTube videos. My camera, which is the very first 2 minutes of the video, my phone is actually better quality than this camera. So the rest of the video is this camera. You'll see the date and time in the bottom. You'll also see when I change the battery, because it'll go back to 1st January 2020 when I change the battery. But yeah, so that's why the video looks a little bit different. And I'm also using my purple cutting mat, because that, with my glass mat underneath, fits over the feet of the ring light, so I can get close enough for the camera to pick it up, because it's not a very tall one. It's great, and you know, it's what I've been looking for, but it's not very tall, so just try my best to get as close in to the actual light as I can, to make up for it not reaching very far. But I love it, and I'm happy. Happy with the present. The camera's been returned, which I felt really guilty about. I hate telling him that his present wasn't as fab as he thought it was, which was really difficult conversation. But the camera's been returned because it didn't work out to be as good as what he'd believed from what he'd read for it to be. So yeah, just get to buy a different present, hopefully. Let me have the money. So going through the embellishments here from the pack, and just do some layers around the photo with the flowers and those cut aparts. I do decide I really like that leaf that's at the top right, and there is actually a stamp. So I decided I'm not going to use that leaf because I want to do it 3 times in all 3 of my clusters. So I decided I'm going to stamp it. So I used these leaves instead. And then I'll get the page out of the way and you'll see another Christmas present come in to play in a moment. So Mr. Ding did get me the We Are Memory Keepers project trolley. Oh, this is my little, how I keep my distress oxide together now for matching collections of Vicki Boutin collections that I have at the moment. So yeah, that's my Daubers thing I was telling you about in a previous video. There's a tray from We Are Memory Keepers. Woohoo! The flare that was on there, that's the Flare Hut, and that was my advent calendar, my dish of advent calendar stuff. And I did choose some flare to go on the layout and ended up not using it. Okay, so I am now stamping the leaves and using some water colour, some water to move the ink about. Didn't realise I wasn't in shot, so I think I do realise in a minute. And the next set I stamp a little bit further up the paper, so it's actually on camera. There we go. Not much further up. I thought it was high enough with that. But yeah, you'll see that I've sprayed quite a bit of water down. I'm just moving the ink about. And then I'm going to do third and final colour. I did peeled paint, shabby shutters, and I can't remember what the other one was. So yeah, I've actually stamped them where it was wet, so the ink's activated a lot quicker with that. And then after I'm happy with where the ink's going, I do go off and dry it. You see the camera move there, it actually fell out the mount. So I'm not going to make you watch me cut out all of them. I've gone and dried it with a heat tool. I have thought about doing some other stamping but couldn't decide on anything. So there we go. So they're all cut out, ready to go. Bring the page back in and decide where they're going. So I do them in 3 clusters. I have another go through the paper pack, put that away because I decided I'm not going to use any more of that. Okay, and anybody who's watched many of my videos know I stick last. I had started just sticking as I go. There we go, camera's falling out of the mount again. I do realise in a minute, don't worry, it doesn't stay off like that for long. What I'm doing here is these 3 like long slide pieces, like label pieces. I decided to back them with pattern paper, so I've got the 6x8 pad out and just using some of the scraps from that to back them. Now because they're perforated, I decide that the sides that are going to be showing, I don't want the perforation, so I was just cutting it off the yellow there, which has got it on both sides because that was the middle piece. Putting on some glue. I did originally use the ATG and it just didn't go right, so I've got out my Zig 2-way glue, trusty old Zig that I've had forever. And here we go, I'm using the scrap pieces to back those labels. Don't worry, I do realise the camera's moved soon. As you can see, I've changed the battery because I've gone down to 2020 on the time. But yeah, so that's the last of him. Just backing that. So this, with the picture, I really loved these coffee cups, and we have a friend who occasionally may walk out of a bar with a glass she fancies. So we were like, where is she when we need her? Not that I condone that kind of behaviour, but you know, occasionally she has been known. And it was just a bit of a joke about that. Also about how much the coffee was as well, because he's a Yorkshireman, and the fact that this is a restaurant in Yorkshire or a bar in Yorkshire and they charge what they charge for that little cup of coffee, it's nearly £3. No, actually it was more than £3 for that little cup of latte, which we waited half an hour for because the machine was broken and the young lad couldn't figure out how to get it to work, so the older lady who was working there who's running around doing everything else on her own. Ended up having to come and sort the machine out for him, and we waited all that time for that. So yeah, that's what the picture's about. I promised him lunch for driving me to Sheffield, and I had a ham sandwich, he had a tuna sandwich, and his tuna sandwich was £9 something. We also ordered chips, which are the most gorgeous chips ever. But yeah, it was we had a laugh. It was good. So I'm just going through the different embellishments now to add more layers. Now I'll get out the papery set, which is fab. These are like either really like thin paper labels or washi. So these washi pieces that I'm pulling out, I know they're like paint splodge rings, but it's coffee cup and it's like coffee rings is what I was thinking. So I do cut them up so that I can use them all over the page. Don't be afraid to cut up your embellishments. At the end of the day, what's the point of having that whole circle down when you're only going to see that tiny piece? You can use the rest of it on another layout. So that's exactly what I did. Cut these in half. So I used 3 halves on the layout, and I've got another half to use elsewhere. This was a bit of trial and error in getting these in the right place. Didn't end up exactly where I planned originally, but I was happy with them. That black one, I had actually intended the blue to come over it, so that didn't quite go in the place I wanted it. And you'll also see on the other ones that I put down with the black one, I do cut out the middle of the ring as well. That one on the bottom that I'm just doing now, bottom right, that actually goes off the bottom of the page. So I just tucked it under the paper where it's gone off the bottom of the page. So I'm going, so I'll cut the middle of the circle out on these ones, because I want to try and get them overlapping. And then just doing the last one. And then we've got the 3 going up in the top corner. These get a little bit more fiddly. Go cutting the middle out of that one. But at the end of the day, your embellishments, do what you want with them, and I just think that making them go a bit further is a good thing. But it does defeat the whole thing of getting your stash used up so you can buy more stash. So I might stop doing this. But I can see myself using these quite a bit on, I've already used them on a couple of layouts, so I can see that happening more and more. So it just made sense to me to cut them up so that I could use them more on more layouts. Okay, so I do start sticking in a minute. I do the whole, right, I think I'm happy, I'm going to start sticking it. You've seen where everything's going, you've seen me plan out the layout, so I don't see much point in you having to sit and watch me sticking. So I am going to skip ahead. There you go. So just gluing down the last bit, because that's everything stuck now. So just going through the sticker sheets, the sticker book, see if there's anything else. I do sign a little tab to put the date on, so I move that label about that's at the top with the yellow paper on. You end up not seeing the yellow paper, and then there's 2 little word labels you use out of here, which I think that top one says my love. That's one's happy, and I think the last one I put on is enjoy, but you'll see it on the close-ups in a bit. That's more or less it. I do just mess about, having a look, see if there's definitely nothing else, putting them away, putting the paper area pieces away so they're out of my way. I do grab another sheet of embellishments in a minute, which is why I haven't cut me tidying up out. but I do decide not to use them, and I didn't use the flare either. So that's it. Thanks for watching. Have a good day. Happy New Year. Bye bye.